purpose of this video is twofold. One is to show you how to attack effectively. An effective attack is an attack that hurts your opponent, makes sure he can't get up. Right? He's down. He's not going to be much of a threat to you. The other thing that this video is going to do is to teach you how to attack correctly. Now, a correct attack is an attack that if something goes wrong, you can defend yourself. You still have the ability to retreat or regain, regroup, whatever you want to call it, but you'll be able to survive. A lot of people don't know what's involved in a knife attack or how to do it correctly, and because of this, there's a lot of nonsense out there. People talk about this, that, and the other thing. Let me tell you, people, there's a lot of stuff here that you're going to be learning today that is definitely something that you've never heard of before. And to tell you the truth, you may not want to know it. Okay, the other bit of news that's going to come as a real surprise to you is that most people don't know how to effectively attack either. You'd be amazed at the incompetence out there. It actually averages out to about 45 attacks for every death. So that's about 45-to-1 ratio that you're dealing with here. Now, a hydroshock can cover up a whole lot of incompetence. And let me tell you, when it comes to knives, there's also the Bozo Brigade. But people rely on the first move too much. So they come in, they make the first move, and they think that is an effective attack. It's not. It's just that they get the drop on the other person. Okay, I'm going to show you now the difference between an effective attack and a correct attack. An effective attack can still be incorrect. Bam! That is an effective attack. It was, however, not a correct attack, right? He's going to be down within 5 to 30 seconds. You know, loss of blood, shock, boom, he's out of the picture. Now, what happened with that is that my attack was way off balance, right? Had he countered attacked, I would have been in trouble. Now, this is a correct attack. Okay? Now, if somebody counters attack, he can immediately, begin to get out of the way or to fight back. This is what happens if you do an incorrect attack against an experienced fighter. Now, see, that is something that you don't want to have happen to you in the middle of a knife fight. And that's why you have to have a correct attack as well as effective attacks. Okay, I'm going to show you something that the martial arts magazines love to show. Boom. From this position, excuse me, I can do all sorts of fancy kung fu moves. Okay? I got to tell you, people, every dick-pulling technique that you see where the guy goes all over the dude is fantasy. Okay? What is wrong with this attack is that there's 3 major areas that just are unrealistic in any way, shape, or form. Number 1, boom, he's way overcommitted and he's off balance. From here, I can drag him off, etc., etc. If I decide to counterattack, he's so far out in the boonies, he can't get back in time, right? Nothing but a total amateur would attack you like this. Now, the other thing he's doing is that he hasn't closed the distance. Remember, real knife fighting, boom, is this close, right? You don't get attacked from out there unless you're dealing with an amateur. The real knifer, he closes in on you. Boom, you're in trouble, right? The third thing he did, boom, is he politely freezes so I can like kung fu him. Okay? They don't do that. Remember, this guy is not on your side. He's not going to go, here, I'll hold still so you can tear me up. No, he's going to come in fast and he's going to either carve his way out or he's going to get out as fast as he went in. Boom, right? So, those techniques that you see, all these fancy moves, are based on those 3 fantasies, right? If he doesn't give you those 3 fantasy moves, you can't do all those things that they show. Okay, that was a correct attack. You'll notice I didn't kung fu kill him. I didn't have a chance to do all those nice moves that sensei so loved to make up and teach people as an effective knife technique. He never gave me a chance. He never went off balance enough or left a hole in his defenses where I could effectively strike back. Once I had blocked his knife, he began to block my block. This begins to get a little complicated. As he's doing that, I had to get out of the way of another knife attack, right? I've talked before about neutralize the threat. That's something you have to do. If the guy doesn't give you an opening by attacking correctly, you have no chance to counterattack. All you can do is back away and even the odds. The underlying secret of knife fighting is balance. right? If you are in balance, you can have mobility, flexibility, and speed. Go. With a balanced stance and your body in balance, you can move, you can strike, you can retreat, you can get out of the way in time if something goes wrong. Now, what I want to show you is if him is off balance, now what does it take to get out? Okay, if something goes wrong, he's in deep trouble, because if his body weight is all the way out there, he's overcommitted, he can't get back in time, right? Got to tell you folks, in a knife fight, who's winning can change that quick. Right? It's a really dangerous thing that you can't stay out there. You have to be able to move and retreat and attack at a moment's notice without lost time of having to regain your balance. Okay, the easiest way to get a really important concept to you is right here, this bowl of water. Now, if this bowl of water were tilted forward, water would pour out the front. If it tilted back, it would pour out the back. Now, what I want you to do is first of all, stand up. But now, imagine a bowl of water, and take that bowl of water, and as you're standing normally, take that bowl of water and put it onto your hips. Okay. What this means is that if your hips tilt forward, the bowl of water would be where? The water would pour out from the front. If your hips tilt backwards, the water would be coming out of the back. Okay, this is a real important concept for balance, because to have balance, you need to have it right in the middle. The water can neither go forward nor backwards. Okay, I want to show you how really important this is. Now, if your hips are tilted forward, most people, what they do is they compensate by leaning back, right? Now, this forward hip tilt in combination with this weird angle makes people like this real easy to pull forward. Okay, not good. Now, the other variation is somebody whose hips are tilted backwards. What they do is that they compensate by leaning forward, right? Again, you got this weird dog leg. People like this are really easy to push over backwards. Okay, you got to know how you hold your hips normally. And it really is sort of embarrassing, but the best way to find out how to do this is have a friend take Polaroids of you with you standing without clothes on. Have them front, side, back. See how you hold your hips, because how you hold your hips is critical to finding your balance, right? You get your balance by getting your hips level, right? That's the first step of balance. Okay. This combination of having your hips level, so the water doesn't pour out forward or backwards, in combination with the pivot that I mentioned last time, but I'm going to tell it to you again. The imaginary pull that comes through the top of your head, down through your body, and out between your legs. This pole is your pivot pole. You pivot around this pole. You spin around it. Now, the combination of the bowl of water being level, the pole being straight up and down, not this way, not this way, will teach you how to keep your balance. This will give you a starting point to work from, right? Balance is critical in this business. Okay, this soapbox about balance is really critical, people. I know it's really boring, but God, it saves your lives. Okay, you keep your balance, you can move faster. Now, I got to tell you, some more advanced systems, they look like they're off balance, but they're not. See, you lean forward like that and you're off balance, but a trained fighter in, say, an Indonesian style will just look off balance, okay? He's not off balance. His weight is being balanced on that leg, right? So he can compensate it. See, they want you to try and pull him off balance. See, if I were to pull him off balance, whoa, bad day, okay? It's a trap. So you got to make sure, if you're looking at somebody, you got to make sure that he is off balance and he's not just setting you up for a trap. Because if they want you to pull him off balance, they got something really ugly waiting in the wings for you. Okay, animals' important safety tip. Number 1, the best way to keep your balance is to keep your knees bent. Okay, I can't tell you how important this is. During a fight, it's real easy to float up and straighten up. Okay, you do that, you're going to lose your balance. You can get knocked off balance just really easy. Keep your knees bent, and it's harder to get knocked off because you can always rely on the flexibility of your knees. You know, the hardest part about doing that last scene was every instinct we had said wrong, which it's true. I checked around. I couldn't find a name for that stupid stance, so I called it as I see it. The Hollywood stance. Okay. Now, what's wrong with this stance is just incredible. But let's just start out with the basic thing that we just learned. Which way is the water pouring? Right? Right. The hips are tilted forward. The water is going that way. What does that mean? It means he's easy to go off balance. Now, towards me. Any force or pressure is coming at him at 90 degrees off his stance integrity, right? I mean, he's really vulnerable to any pressure from this. I mean, he goes over real easy at this point, okay? Understand, this is a starting point, and we're talking about what's wrong with this. Again, now, if I have a knife, he's screwed in that position. Not a good stance to believe in. Okay. That last part was bad enough, but you want to see the really most spectacular flaw about this stance? Kind of makes you hesitate, don't it? Okay, well that last move was real painful. There's a bit of a problem with it. If the guy is, even if he's in that dumb move, you kick, boom. Remember what I told you, never kick above the knee in a knife fight. Okay, that's what can happen. Now, the real vulnerable position of this stance is the knees, however. I can come in with a straight side thrust kick and he's history. He's down. He's got a broken knee. Another weak part is here against the side thrust kick. Okay? In this stance, you have no place to go against a kick. You basically are going to get your leg broke any way that the blow comes in. Okay? Not a good stance. This is the real danger of this stance. Okay, another suicidal Hollywood stance that you'll see is this. It's basically a side horse stance with the knife held out into the front. Okay, bad news. Live, war story here. Partner and I were in a bar. Somebody pulled a knife from my partner. My partner looked at this guy and went, boom! Busted his knee. Major weakness of this stance. Another major weakness is that you can come in from the back and take the knee out. Okay? Bad news. We won't even talk about the ability to slice the arm off. But you're, again, as I mentioned before, on a monorail stance. You can't move. You're too rooted, too grounded. Okay? Bad news, this stance. Don't even think of it. Okay. People go on about this stance, that stance, this is a good knife fighting stance, this is where you start from. Let me tell you people, reality of the situation is you start fighting from wherever you are at the moment that you're attacked. Okay, that kind of blows a lot of the other stances out. A lot of the other stances that you'll hear about are basically you're getting ready to cut somebody. They're not actual fighting stances, they're whack, surprise, you just cut the guy. Now, no matter what stance you choose, there should be 6 basic laws that it adheres to. And these 6 laws are very simple. Okay, number 1 law, that any stance, any position that you find yourself in, is it should protect your knees. Okay, either by getting out of the way of a kick, or if the person connects, rolling with it. Okay, it's real easy to come in with a cross kick and pop a knee. Unless, if you're not careful, it'll break it, so you roll away with it. Okay? Learning these things and protecting your knees is a major point. Okay, the second thing your stance should do is protect the family jewels. Alright, against a kick, up against there, you'd be able to pivot out of the way. You'd be able to, as what Richard's going to do here, pinch him, boom, so he can't get to the guy. This is the thing, the flexibility of getting the cojones out of the way. The guy comes in, take it, shift, get out of the way, right? That's the second thing that your stance should do. Okay, the other thing that your stance should do is give you mobility for 180 degrees. Okay, this is the 180 degrees, your attacker's coming in on 90. You should have the ability, whatever stance you choose, to be able to move like this. Full body rotation, remember the pivot. Because if you're over here and somebody tries to pivot, you can't pivot as well. Right? You lose your ability if you're there. So pivot away 180 degrees. It's an important thing to have in your stance. Okay, the fourth thing it should do is give you the ability to be mobile, be able to get you out of the way, to be able to shift. Okay, if your feet are too wide apart, you become grounded. You can't get out of the way in time. If your feet are too close together, you get knocked over too easy. So what you need to do is to have a stance that's wide enough to give you the mobility, but not too close to get you knocked over, nor too wide that you lose your mobility. Okay, the fifth thing that your stance should have is that your hands are positioned in the middle of your body. This makes it so that no part of your body is further away from protection than any other part. Okay, you have to be here, you have to be flexible, you have to be able to fight and slap wherever the attack is coming from. A lot of the traditional martial arts ready stances leave you open, and it makes it hard to come in and block because you have to cross yourself. Certain other ones just leave you way out here. You can't get over to protect yourself. You can't cover this side. You have to have your hands in a position where you can fight, block, check, strike from. The sixth law is that whatever stance you take, it should protect your weapon arm. Your arm should always be able to be guarded, blocked, protected, or able to strike. Same thing here. This is protected. It's safe zone. You get into a stance that leaves your weapon arm out there, you're going to get it chopped off. Not a good thing. Always protect your weapon arm. These 6 rules are critical to evaluate any stance that you find yourself in. If you find yourself in a position that they don't apply, or that you're not covering one of them, shift into a position that you are covering all 6 of them. It is critical to understand these are aspects of survival. The problem with a lot of martial arts stances and such is that they'll teach you to do something as a starting point that doesn't cover these things. You have to cover these things if you're in an actual fight. Okay, remember that a stance, any stance, is a starting point. In an actual fight, things are going to change, it's going to shift, etc., etc. But there are 2 basic stances that I recommend. The first one is what I call the military stance. Okay, when I was first taught how to knife fight by a guy who'd been in the military, he goes, "This is what they taught us." And I went, "Okay, fine." And when he went like this, I looked at him and I said, "You know, that arm looks real tempting." And he said, "Go ahead." Free safety tip here. If somebody says, go ahead calmly about attacking them, don't, right? This arm right here acts as both a shield and a buffer, okay? What this does is in this stance, a kid from Podunky, Iowa can survive against a better knifer, right? Now, this arm as a shield keeps the guy from closing on you. Now, if he were to try and close on me, bam, I can block his attack. It's my shield and it's the buffer zone to keep him from getting into actual closing distance. In the meantime, my knife hand is open and I can come in, right? The trap aspect is you want him to come at your arm. You want him to slash. Boom, you can counter slash. You know he's going to come out. Boom, you can move there, right? So really good technique, and it takes a kid from, Middle America who's never fought with a knife, and it gives him a chance against a more experienced knifer. Okay, another really good advantage of this stance is that it protects your knife arm. Okay, a real primo target is to cut the guy's knife arm. This keeps it back, keeps it safe, right? Now, you can absorb the attack here and still have the ability to counterattack. From this position, down low, you can thrust, direct angle into the really good kill zones. You can slash, disable, right? You can come up, open up this way. Really good slash technique. Another really good thing about this is that since the knees are bent, you can come in on different levels. All you do to change the level is straighten your knees. You start in here, the guy comes down to block, you straighten your knees, you cut up high. Okay, really good system. Okay, folks, I got to tell you something. As good as this stance is, there's still a problem with it. And what this has to do with the way the military thinks. According to the military thinking, you're expendable. Okay? The number one choice is that you kill your opponent and keep on going. The second choice is that you kill your opponent as he kills you. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a problem with that mentality because I intend to live. See, this stance, as it is right here, can handle a bum rush. Come in, boom, he rushes, I attack, right, boom, boom, I can take the attack, right? That's good, and it's a killing stance from the standpoint of you can come in, bam, straight in and attack. Richard and I modified this a little, and what we did is that we took the legs and went from such a deep-rooted, wide stance to take the impact of a rush and took it more into what the railroad stance is that we were talking about. This gives you more flexibility. So if the guy comes at you, bam, you can get out of the way. Now you still got this arm up here to protect you. Okay, the real advantage of this system is that against an experienced knifer, it's going to be a double kill, right? Against an expert, the guy, he's going to rush you and he's going to go down with you. And believe me, a double kill is not what you want to do in a knife fight, right? This will keep most people away. They'll look at that and go, I don't want to rush that, okay? So this is a good starting stance, and I recommend you practice it to get accustomed to it, right? To learn the nuances of knife fighting. Start in this stance. Okay, now with that modification, Richard and I really agree with that, except for on one point. He feels that you need to be on the balls of your feet. Okay? From there you can spring and move real quick. Now I gotta say I agree with him on that. You can move faster. My personal problem with that is unless you're really well trained, it's easier to lose your balance off the toe, off your balls of your feet. Okay? What I vote for is the same thing, but putting the feet flat. It's a little bit slower. I'll admit his is faster. This way, though, the balance is a little more guaranteed. Well, if there is ever a guarantee in a knife fight. But you're less likely to fall off, knock yourself over and, throw yourself off balance when you are flat-footed. His is quicker. Mine's a little more guaranteed balance. Personal choice. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, the next stance I recommend comes from a form called Pencak Silat. And this is basically it. When I first saw this stance, I looked at it and I said, oh, that's easy. You just, well, then I ended up standing back there with my hands in my pocket going, that's real ugly. This stance, everything that I've talked about in these videos, mobility, footwork, speed, flexibility, good balance, it all becomes gruesomely possible from this stance. Okay? So we're going to look at this real close in a sec. Now, I'm not going to be as paranoid about getting cut as I normally am, but I want you to see the effectiveness of this stance. Okay, folks, I just got torn up there. I mean, I was really seriously sliced on that one. And the only thing I did with that was wrong was I was overly aggressive. Okay? I came in, I closed, and I left myself open when I closed, in the sense of I jumped in there before I had a really serious opening, and he used it, and he cut me up. Now, remember, a knife slice is real bad news, okay? When you see people out dancing around, that's sparring. It's not knife fighting. Real knife fighting happens this close, and it's multiple slashes, multiple hits, right? Real dangerous business here. Folks, it works like this. You start out with the military stance. I recommend you modify it a little like we told you about, a little higher up. But practice this stance. You and your buddies go out, get some rubber knives, also get some safety goggles. That's all I ask for safety for you. And practice this. Practice checking, practice blocking, use it as shield work, cut, fight. Get your reactions down. Learn what somebody looks like before they attack, as they're attacking, how they attack. Practice the angles. Start out with this. Once you get these things down, this will save you for about 90% of all the knife fights you'll get out there. And I used this stance for years, and I always ended up with double kill against experts, even the Indonesian experts. This is a good stance to start from, but it is a starting stance. As you progress, you may want to shift to this stance. You may want to shift to the more forward stance. This is Faster, quicker, more flexible. If you don't have the basics down though, it's also more dangerous to you. So, start out here, work your way up here. Fuck you. Now, what you just saw was a reenactment that happened to me when I was a 19-year-old kid. Two things saved me. Number one, my awareness kicked in. Something about the way he held his body said, get out of there. Secondly, what saved me was the fact that his attack wasn't as effective as it could have been. That gave me time to get out. We're going to now look at the effectiveness of attacks. Okay, that attack that you just saw earlier with the guy in this position, had this guy known what you're about to learn right now, I wouldn't be here to tell you. Okay? Now, I want you to spot the difference here between these two attacks. Okay, grab your VCR remote control, look again, because it's real important here. Now, the difference between these two attacks is that one was a really wide open slash like that. Okay, now a lot of people don't believe this, but that's a slash too. And it can do just as much damage as that, right? You come in like that, slash, come back. This is faster, right? There's a whole lot less dead weight involved in that move, okay? Remember, knife fights, speed, life, important. Okay, it's easier to understand this if you look at it this way. How big is your opponent? How much space does he take up? Got your opponent right here, okay? This is where he is. This is the area you need to damage. Now, if you come out with a slash from here across to there, okay, all this area here is dead weight. From here to here, nothing's happening. It's wasted motion, okay? He's right here. He's being threatened when the blade is here. Same thing works over here. I mean, once the blade is past him from there to there, nothing, no good. It's wasted effort. See, a wide slash covers all that area, whereas a deep slash, bam, all I've done is by using my wrist and my elbow is come in and slashed here. I've covered where he is. This is, you know, him, he's in trouble here. Okay, I'm not wasting my time out here, I'm not wasting my time out here. I'm coming in, I'm effective, and I'm quick. A key to effective attacks with a knife are actually in the wrist and in the elbow, right? You can move a whole lot faster in these two areas. Now, you can get a lot more flexibility and cover a lot more territory than most people think just by using the wrist. Now, I'm going to hold my arm still as I do this. Okay, what you just saw was me just using my wrist, okay? Didn't put too much forearm or elbow action in it, just right there, simple ability, okay? Look how much space I would have covered. This is just using my wrist, okay? His body, his entire torso, just from my wrist, you know, would have been torn up. Now, had I decided to throw in the elbow, I could have gone from total body. I can go from here to here with the elbow. If I throw in the wrist and the elbow, it gets doubly ugly. Now you know how much damage just a wrist move can do. So let's look closely on how to do this. Now, a deep slash comes in towards the body, and the difference between a deep slash and a shallow slash is, while it's, you know, the wrist action, shallow slash takes out the limb, deep slash comes in. So it's like a thrust, okay? You come in, but instead of the knife being directly in line, it's kind of tilted outwards. So then you come in, and then you begin the slash, and you come back in. Now remember, your opponent only covers this much area, so all you need to do is cover the slash area there. Now, I personally prefer to use the tip to slash, okay? My bias, my way of doing it. So, when you come in and you slash like this, you can come in diagonally, boom. You can come in horizontally, boom. You can come in vertically, boom, right? Any way you come in, you can just come in quick, knife out, snap it around with the wrist, okay? bring it back in. This is a whole lot quicker, bam, than this. Okay, you can do the same amount of damage in half the time. Okay, everything I have taught you up to this point all revolves around one area, one concept, and that's circles. The pivots, right? The wrists, okay? The elbow, it's all circles. A key to knife fighting, and actually of any type of fighting, is circles, okay? Whether they're big circles or little circles, okay? It's all the same thing. It's the loop, it's the circle, right? Because a circle is faster than a straight line, okay? Because a straight line, the energy comes in, it stops, it has to restart. A circle is one continuous action, okay? A slash will come in, come back, okay? A thrust kind of goes clunk, restart, boom, okay? Faster, okay? You learn these, remember the circles. Small, slash, work. You practice with your wrists, you practice with your elbows, okay? You practice with your shoulders, okay? You also practice with your body, because your body also moves in circles, okay? This whole process is a whole lot faster and a whole lot more natural than a lot of linear fighting styles. And it's more effective, too. Okay, I figure by now you're going, well, we want some action. You know, I agree. This is kind of dry stuff, you know, technical, how to slash, etc., etc. But it's real important. You know, the tight circles, this information is what will save you in a fight. Now, Richard is in what I call the close but no cigar stance. It's not quite a Hollywood stance, but a lot of people naturally drop into it. Okay? He's not going to do any major flaws, mistakes, etc. He's just going to make his slashes a little wider, like a normal person. And I want to show you the effectiveness of tight circles and slashes against the wider ones. Tight circles, they're better. Okay, the difference between a fast knife fighter and an effective one is the effective knife fighter is continuous action, right? He's always working around the imaginary circle that we're talking about. You can do a lot more damage that way. So you don't go in, stop, come back. Wasted time. You keep on moving. Move fast, cut out, thrust, cut out, da-da-da-da-da-da. You don't lose it by stopping. Okay? This smooth, continuous motion is what makes an effective knife fighter. Okay, animals important safety tip number 3. The guy who slashes wide, you can close on him after the threat goes by. Okay, you can block him up, tie him up. Okay, somebody who's in with tight slashes like this, he's still defending himself. This is also an issue of a correct attack. That way, I don't care if I missed with my slash. You can't counterattack without ending up in a threat again. You know, I hate these things. A shinai is a practice weapon, and one of the major problems that people encounter with it is that they don't understand that real weapons have edges. Shinais don't. Somebody can be blindingly fast with these things and he'll hit you, but he'll hit you with what would be the flat of the blade. So the guy just bam hits you, you go ow, pain, hurt, but he didn't cut you. To really cut, if you were using the real actual edge, you'd have to shift. These things don't teach angles, and most people have absolutely no idea about the reality of angles when it comes to fighting. Okay, I want you to watch closely here. Now, what was wrong with that slash? Okay, so you can sit there and rewind all you want, but you probably won't see it. What was wrong with that slash is even though my arm was going horizontally, I was holding the knife edge diagonally. Okay, my knife edge was not traveling along the same line as my slash. Okay, this is a critical thing to understand about angles in knife fighting because it has to do with energy transference. That slash that you just saw wouldn't cut through a leather jacket. And I'm not talking about a full-on leather biker jacket, I'm talking about a dress jacket. You could slash the guy, and yeah, you might open him up a little, but you're not going to hurt him. The reason why you're not going to hurt him is that if you've got your angle parallel to or on the same line as your slash, your edge will go in. The energy is being transferred along that line. If, however, you got your edge pointing on a different angle than your slash, what's going to happen is that when it hits something, the edge is going to try and go a different way than the rest of you. So your slash is going that way and your edge is trying to take you that way. I've seen people drop their knives doing this stuff. So what you have to do is keep your angle and your edge on the same thing. So your slash is going the same way as your edge. Okay? Now to do this, you have to end up twisting a little more in the wrist and the arm. But we'll get into that in a bit. Okay, where most people understand the concept of angles and edges being on the same line comes right here in an axe, right? If you ever have any experience with an axe, you know you've got to have your edge going the same area that your swing's going, because if you're off angle just a bit, you glance off. You can come out, take your foot off, ugly scene. Right. So you get accustomed to having the angle and the edge on the same line. And when that happens, you get much better results. Okay, it's real important that you understand the effectiveness of a correctly angled with the edge on the same angle of attack as to if it goes off wrong. Like I said before, Shania don't teach this, and a lot of people make this mistake. Now, I'm going to hit this piece of meat, and I'm going to hold the knife on the wrong angle. Now, I don't know, one of two things are going to happen. Either the knife's going to fly off my hand, or I'm going to have a really inefficient cut. We'll see when it goes on. Okay. Now, that may not look too much like an inefficient cut to you. Okay? Comparison to what this thing can do, it's a really inefficient cut. Okay, this may look like a really, nasty cut, but remember I was using a really heavy knife. Now, this may come as a surprise, but I was aiming across here. My slash should be this way. When I hit the meat, it began to peel down, right? This is what I was talking about. It'll deflect into a different angle. Now, if somebody was wearing a jacket over this, this probably wouldn't be this bad. Okay, I showed you what an inefficient slash does against bare meat. Well, I've decided to dress for dinner here. What I want to show you now is what an effective, proper angled slash can do. And it doesn't matter if it's got clothing to protect you. Okay? So before I went here and I ended up going there. Not a good thing. But, okay man, doesn't matter that you had clothes on. Okay? Okay, that's a pretty good slice there. And that was just using the edge because I didn't use the tip. Okay, that was a slash this way. Okay, that's a slash. If, however, I were to use my tip as a tipping rip, okay, you can get a much deeper penetration. Yeah, much deeper there. See, all of these actions are coming from the same thing. The fact that I'm coming in on the correct angle and I'm getting much deeper. I hit bone right there. Okay, so correct angles are an amazingly fast process once you get the hang of them. Okay, you can come in any which way you need as long as the edge follows your attack line. Okay, that's what these things can do. This is some reality here, folks. First time I've ever assaulted my dinner. Okay, the reason a lot of people are blindingly fast is that they don't really worry about the angle of the edge. Okay, because this, bam, it takes less time than that, right? But what I had to do was twist not only my arm, but I had to get my shoulder in line, got that to get to the proper angle, right? Now, that moves a little faster than that until you're practiced. Maybe you can't really see it, but trust me, until you get down to the point where you can do it that quick, right? Quicker move. Okay, so that's one thing you got to always remember. For the proper, most efficient hits, you got to keep your angle straight. Okay, another thing that people do a lot of times is that they thrust in a really cockeyed angle. What they end up doing is instead of thrusting straight, they end up thrusting with the edge or with the tip pointing one direction, the line of their attack going another. Okay, this gets the same problem. Yeah, you can angle your way up, but you lose efficiency. An efficient thrust carries all the weight at the point. All the energy comes in straight there. Now, when you're talking about thrusts, there's either the straight line in or there's the diagonal. In either one, you have to have the point coming along the same line. See, a proper thrust transfers all the energy into your move. Animals, important safety tip number 4. When you're dealing with somebody who has a heavy jacket or clothing, whether it's leather or denim, what you really have to pay attention to is the angle of your attack. Because if your angle of the attack is incorrect, the clothes are going to act as armor and protect the guy. One of the advantages that I've always maintained knives have over guns is that you can make sure that you wound the guy rather than just kill him. Once you pull the trigger, sometimes it can get real unpredictable as to what happens. A knife, however, gives the ability to wound your attacker, cut him, let him know that he may not want to continue with this particular move. There's a couple of things that you may want to do this, or reasons why you may want to do this. Number one, a lot of people have trouble with the idea of killing somebody. That's a personal reservation, which I can understand perfectly. By being able to cut somebody and wound them and remove the threat, you may feel better about it. That's one of the major advantages of a knife. Now I got to tell you folks, one of my all-time favorite non-lethal areas to strike is the arm. Somebody sticks their arm out, leaves it hanging out, boom, 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 boom. Cut it off. Slash it. Spoom. He's not going to be using this arm for a while. It's important to understand that people don't really take damage to their arms real well. If somebody's got a weapon, you cut their arm, end of the conversation. Now, this is a really ugly scene. Boom. This knife fight's over. He can't use his arm anymore. I'm safe, he's in trouble. Or if I'm not willing to kill him, he's not going to be willing to push it because he doesn't have an arm anymore. This is your arm. It's a diagram of the musculature of what you have underneath your skin. These muscles run the entire length of your forearm. And what they do is that they turn into the tendons that are on the back of your hand here. Okay, they control that action there. Now, any attack on this sector, this will affect not only the forearm, but it'll affect the hand. An attack here will prevent the movement of the hand. Now, these sort of muscles are very susceptible to a variety of slashes and thrusts. A tight slash over the back, right, the little circle, I mentioned it before, comes in, opens up there. Okay, you can come in with a chop, a larger one if you want to get the back of the guy's arm. Come in like that. Okay, these are prime areas, good areas to hit. You can cause a lot of damage with very little penetration. Another one of my personal favorites for targets is an area called the snuff box. It's this part of your hand right here. You'll notice that there's a lot of muscles in here and tendons. These control your wrist action as well as your thumb action. Now, you take somebody's thumb out and they are busted down to raccoon status. Lots of mischief, but no opposable thumb to get into with it. So, this is a really good target right here. Very susceptible to a loop slash or even a point rip, anything. Just come in and hit right here. Good target. Okay, there's a lot of good ways to get to the wrist and the arm. Most people when they fight, they leave the arm out anyway. Okay, most people think that a body shot is the best one. No, a lot of times you open it up by cutting the arm. So if the guy thrusts at you, you can come in over. You can come in with a round loop slash like that. You can come in with a straight slash just diagonally across his forearm, that way too. Boom, 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 right? Or what you can do is if he thrusts in, you can then rip him back with the tip. Don't forget the tip is an important aspect of fighting here. You can do a lot of damage with that, and tip rip's real nasty. One of my personal favorites is when the guy thrusts, boom, what you do is you just flip your wrist up, put your knife here, and let him peel himself. Real nasty, real efficient, and it's great as a counterattack. The guy thrusts, slash. You let him, you just carve him, or he carves himself actually. Okay, the most common reaction when a knife flashes past your eyes is to freeze. So even if we're in a fight, squared off against each other, boom, that reaction, it's a shock to have that knife flash by you. The second most common reaction is this, to jump back. Okay, that's a good example of what happens. Most people go, wait a minute, and they get out of the way. It's really scary to have this go by. If you meet somebody who doesn't react negatively to a knife flashing by their face, speed of sound's Mach 1, I suggest you break it as you get out of there because you're in way over your league. Okay, one of the things that I really like about knives as weapons is that you can control how much damage you do. Now, a slash to the face isn't going to kill the guy unless you mess up and hit him at the carotid artery. That's where it gets real messy. You could possibly take out an eye. Well, that's his problem. He shouldn't have been in a knife fight with you in the first place. But one of the really nice things is that a slash to the forehead bleeds, and I mean it bleeds bad. Have you ever cut yourself shaving? You know how much blood you get there? You get across the forehead, the blood is in the eyes. You can't see. You're blinded. End of the fight. This is why a slash to the face is so effective. It hits the guy. Even if you nick him, he's going to be bleeding all over the place, and you can't see, you can't fight. Fighting in general, people don't pay enough attention to their legs. Now, this is especially true in knife fighting. Okay, people will sit there and do all sorts of fancy stuff and leave their legs hanging way out there. These are primo targets. A lot of times you can end a fight just by coming in with the leg slash. Cut here, guy's going down. He can't walk. Now, a stab into the quadriceps here, he's not going to be dancing for a while, let me tell you. A slash, same thing. Sharp knife can cut through the material of your pants. Now, right along the outside of your leg is a thing called the iliotibial tract. It's mostly tendon-like material. Now, a straight thrust into the iliotibial, he's not going to be walking because the iliotibial supports the knee. It acts as a brace to the knee. You take this thing out and this guy's knee doesn't work. You can take it in the quadriceps and still hop, you know, like that, but you take it here and this leg is out. Now, down the back of the knees are two little ridges called the hamstrings. You take out the hamstrings, this guy is not going to be walking again without extensive surgery and physical therapy. Even on the outside, you take out one, he's down. End of conversation. If the guy's laying on the floor, he's not much of a threat to you. You've won the fight. So when you're fighting, don't forget the low slashes. Low slashes to the leg are really good, really effective. And as you're also fighting, protect them against yourself. Somebody slashes at you, get out of the way. Okay, here's a free safety tip. If you're thinking about stabbing somebody in the leg so as not to kill them, okay, I can understand that. You got to be careful because if you come in on the inside here, you can hit the femoral artery and he'll bleed to death. Right? This is a major artery, and you come in here, you come in with a straight stab, you can slice it, boom, he's dead. He'll be unconscious in about 30 seconds, dead maybe 5 minutes or so. But when you're doing this, if you're going to just fight to wound, come in from the outside. Folks, the arms are primo targets. They out there, chop them off. The thing about a slash to the arm is that, yes, you will cut the guy's arm, but you'll go up on an aggravated assault rather than an attempted murder charge because you weren't going for the guy's body, you were going for here. Now, that's like quasi-legal advice, but you stand a better chance. The arms, you can really say, yes, I wasn't trying to kill the guy, I was just trying to protect myself. What you just saw there was a combination of my other two favorite attack points. the face and eyes, and the legs. These are also two things that people do not expect to have an attack coming at them from. Eyes have a great psychological impact, freaks people out when a knife comes at them. The legs are something that too many people leave unguarded, and it's really easy to take them out. Animal's important safety tip. Most people think a knifer is going to go to the body for the target, their immediate target. And not necessarily. If you leave it hanging out there, it's going to get slashed off. You always got to watch that, especially more experienced knifers will cut this off before they come in here. What you just saw is a pretty good representation of an actual assassination. Now, I don't remember the guy's name, but a Roman general once said, to wound, use the edge. To kill, use the point. Well, when they dug up a lot of the old Roman soldiers, they discovered old multiple slash wounds that had been healed. But on the ones that they found where the body obviously showed, it was a puncture wound. It was a thrust that had done the soldier in. The tip finishes the job for you. Okay, there are two basic ways to kill somebody with a knife. One is to hit something important and interrupt a major system. The easiest way to do that is through the cardiovascular and respiratory system. You can come up through here, hit the heart, hit the diaphragm. That's going to mess up the system. Another way is to come in through the throat, open up the carotid arteries, bleed to death, etc. That is targeting, very exact work. Now, another way to kill somebody with a knife is to come in and do multiple attacks. Not only do you hit one area, you just don't hit one, you wiggle the knife, you pull it out, you come in, you wiggle some more, same thing. You basically cause as much damage in as many systems as you can, right? You can do more damage with one well-placed shot and make it faster than you can with multiple stabs that are just randomly scattered and maybe hit an important part. Okay, this is a Gerber Mark II. Really popular with certain elite units in Vietnam back in the good old days, so to speak. This, like many other fighting knives, has a very important thing to notice about it. The blade length is long enough to reach important targets, okay? Now, if I come in from below, it's long enough to reach his heart, okay? It'll also pierce the diaphragm, okay? From behind, I can come in from behind. Even though I'm coming in underneath the ribs, it's long enough to reach up into the front and pierce the heart. Okay, pretty effective here. Okay, up to this point I've been talking about coming into the chest cavity from beneath, right? Come in underneath. It's a whole lot easier to do this than to try and come in through the ribs. The reason are the ribs, amazingly, as small as they are, often act as shields. Okay, the other thing is, most people don't stop to think about it, but if you have to come in through a human ribs run side to side, like we have this here, okay? You don't want to go in with your blade held vertically. You have to come in with the blade held horizontally. That way you can go in between the ribs, okay? See, if you come in with the edge vertically, bam! Look, I just ran into a rib right there. That's all the penetration I got, okay? Not good. On the other hand, if you come in horizontally, you're in. Okay, something that you really got to understand is when you're talking about stabbing something, that means that you're going to get resistance. There's going to be force pushing back. Okay, if you have a knife that doesn't have a hilt, like this, you have to be very careful to make sure that you have a correct hammer grip. I mean, a really hard, solid grip. So when you stab, you don't end up riding the knife down. I've seen people do this, open up their very own hands if they hit a bone or something, hit some form of resistance. You can slip on your own knife and open yourself up. Now, another thing is serrated edges. Now, you'll notice this Gerber Mark II. Yeah, it's got very small serration, okay? This is made up for by having a leaf-shaped blade here, right? It can go in, and since it's not saw-edged but serrated, it can come out as well as it goes in. So, oops, just got myself a rib there. Okay, boom. You'll notice I'm not hanging up here, okay? Knife moves in and out real easy. So, Now, this, however, is a charming cheapie with a saw edge. Okay, these things are terrible. I gotta warn you folks up front, if you have a saw edge, don't even think of stabbing somebody, because you come in, boom, right, and it hangs up, right? This thing, look at that, it's hanging there by itself. Okay, not good. Okay, it's a real bummer if you get your knife stuck in somebody's ribs and he's got a friend who wants to talk to you about it. While it's preferred that you hit a major target somehow, something that causes a system to crash, what you can do also is come in with multiple attacks. Okay? Multiple attacks are usually reserved for the abdomen area. The idea is to not just interrupt one system, but to interrupt many. See, the large intestine, runs across the area like that. The liver's here, the stomach's here, bladder's here, small intestine's here. When you come in, you begin to open up all the systems. Okay, you interrupt all the systems and cause shock. Now, the liver holds a lot of toxins. Okay, you puncture the liver, you open it up, it's going to dump toxins in the system, toxic shock. The stomach, it's got the stomach acid. You hit the stomach, open up the stomach, it dumps the stomach acid into the internal system. The bladder is also effective because it lets the urine out. If the guy hasn't gone to the bathroom lately, the urine goes in and affects the blood system. Toxic shock. If the guy doesn't die immediately from the multiple trauma, the toxic shock will take him out later. Okay, here's another important thing to know. Okay, I'm using a rubber knife, but what you just saw is when I closed with him, this action right here. Okay, what I did was while the blade was in there, I used it to cut. Okay, I used his skin to act as a pivot point. What this does is the small action inside causes more damage, more trauma. You basically slice your way through anything around before you pull out. So when you stab, you slice, pull out. Okay, even if you miss, even if you're going for a major target like the heart, okay, well, gee, I missed. Boom, I just corrected the problem. Boom, boom. Okay, remember early on I told you about survivors, and survivors are people who will hit from the front or from the back? I wasn't joking about that. The object is to be the one still standing when it's over. Now, the back has got the same thing when you can come up into the heart. However, you have the two kidneys here, which are slower. I mean, yeah, the guy will take 5 steps, maybe, 10 seconds or so before he goes down. Okay, he'll be losing a lot of blood because there's 2 major arteries going into the kidneys, and they hold a whole lot of blood. They also hold a lot of toxins, but it's not a guaranteed kill shot. However, down the left side of the spine is the vena cava inferior, right? This is like the major artery, or vein, whatever, that leads from the heart to the lower portions. This carries all your blood. You get this cut, and it's like opening up the bottom of a barrel. It just gushes out, right? Not a good situation to get this one cut. Now, what I want to show you here is rather important. When you hit from behind, I've spoken before about this, that you got to hold the guy, close with the guy, right? This is especially true from hitting from behind. Now, the way the military teaches it is you come in around the guys up here. Now, I feel kind of silly trying to take somebody out on my tippy toes. Okay? This is a disadvantage of when you're dealing with a small guy hitting a big guy. However, what you can do instead if you're small is grab the shoulder, drag him over backwards, proceed to hit. Okay? If he's got long hair, take him from the hair. Okay? Another good way is grab him, take his knee out. Okay, then you start pumping. Now, the main thing about this is that to be safe at this, you got to drag the guy over backwards. Now, Richard can do this properly. See, from that position, pulled back over, I'm helpless. I mean, I am off balance, there's nothing I can do, so he can keep on shanking me. I can't really fight back. It's over. That's how you take somebody out from behind. If you've decided that you got to punch somebody's ticket, the way you got to do it is come in, close, hit hard, hit fast, hit multiple. Make sure your attacks are both effective and correct. You got to hold on to them to keep them from fighting back too. Because believe me, they don't fall down like in the movies. They still have enough juice to fight back. I know a lot of people who have fought back. I know a guy who managed to blow his attacker away with a sucking chest wound. Still survived long enough to do it. So what you got to do is come in and make sure he can't get away. Animals important safety tip number 6. It was said in a movie years ago and it still holds true. There ain't no rules in a knife fight. You do whatever you have to do to win. Okay, while if you hit somebody in a major area, he can go down within 3 seconds and be dead inside 30 seconds. Hollywood loves showing the people, guy gets shanked in the stomach, right? Guy falls over and dies immediately. Now this... What are you doing?
I'm politely falling over and dying immediately.
No, you're supposed to do it when I shank you.
Oh, you mean I don't get to fight back or struggle or try and run away or anything?
No, you're supposed to die nice, clean, and quick, right there.
I suppose I don't get to let my sphincters cut loose and bleed copiously all over your nice clean clothes?
No, I remain like with no bodily fluids on me whatsoever. That's Hollywood.
And then I take it that nobody in Hollywood who's choreographing these things has ever shanked anybody.
Probably not.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. Just don't let it happen again. Okay, that was Hollywood, right? Looks real nice, real pretty. An actual knife assault is a little different. Okay, except for the bodily fluids, that was it. He was fighting. He was giving me everything he got. I would be covered from eyebrow to foot in blood and urine and feces. When somebody dies, everything lets go, okay? And he's going to be pumping blood. I mean, this entire area here would be covered in blood. It's not fun, this business. It's serious, it's gross, and it's ugly. You know, I buried my first friend when I was 15 to a knife fight. And in case you hadn't caught on, we've been talking about a lot of gruesome stuff here. In knife fighting and reality, you got to understand the winner of a knife fight is the guy who ends up doing 20 years hard time. The loser's in the graveyard. This is not fun business. It's not a game. It's some serious, ugly stuff here. And you probably now can see why I spend so much time telling people how not to fight. But now, if you got to do it, you know how to do it and you'll know how to stay alive. Because that's where it counts. It's final analysis. It's who's left breathing.